Very good morning to all. TwinTech Academy warmly welcomes all the delegates for the webinar on collaborative change management in healthcare. TwinTech Academy, it has a panel of experienced professionals from diverse branches of healthcare and management and has ambitious plans to provide expertise in various fields like healthcare management division, healthcare education division, healthcare training division for students and working executives in organization, management consulting divisions, and counseling division for students, career executives, and legal and healthcare aspects. More detail about healthcare TwinTech Academy, you can just visit the given website below. This is TwinTech's contribution so far. Conducted various seminar, workshop, training program, and today is yet another program going to happen now. This is the voices from our well-wishers for our TwinTech Academy for its programs. Thanks to them for their blessings and wishes for our academy. Thanks to Chitkara University for supporting us, for collaborating with us for our training programs. And today webinar also affiliated by them. About more details about Chitkara University, just you can go through the given website below for the education activities, management, and the healthcare courses and etc. Today's speaker, Mr. Vijay Kumar, who has over 25 years of experience in corporate, and he has got 4 post graduations, 3 global certifications, and 100 domestic certifications to his credit, like master degree in applied physiology, certificate in brain-based coaching, NLP master practitioner, SME specialist, certified financial planner, certified trust and estate planner. He has empowered many SMEs, has impacted over 1 lakh lives through his transformational workshops. Thank you, Mr. Vijay sir, for accepting our invitation and do the seminar today. Over to
Thank you.
speaker, Mr.
Thank
Vijay
you, sir.
Kumar, for giving today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mahalingam sir. Thank you, TwinTech Academy, for giving me this opportunity. Friends, a happy morning. We will just go through a concept called collaborative change management. The core objective of this program is the well-being of an affected person. Any person who is affected, he should be brought down to a wellness status, and for that current scenario, how our collaborative change will impact the healthcare. That's what is the core agenda behind that. My name is Vijay Kumar. I represent Moose Consultancy. This is basically into trainings, capability building workshops, and behavioral programs. I have done my master's in psychology, and I have done a few post graduations. Let me see how all my 25 years of experience or exposure will translate to a single value add to any one of you, if any. I strongly believe that there is patient well-being. Whatever we talk about excellence, whatever we talk about change management, whatever we talk about collaboration, ultimately, all this should translate to patient well-being, and there is nothing beyond this. For this, if our focus is the patient well-being, we need to check currently what is the status. There is a virus in the air and there is a fear in the mind. Mahalingam sir, is my slide visible?
No, sir, actually the slide is not visible.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, now we can see your screen, sir.
There is a virus in the air and fear in the mind. There are lot of activities which are seeing a downtrend. For an example, today the elective surgeries have come down, OPDs have come down, there is a drop in OPDs, there is a drop in routine diagnostic services. Why? Why there is a drop? It's not that people have become more healthy. The drop is because of the reflection of a fear in the minds of the people. The fear is not only for the patients, the fear is for all of us. All activities of our life is filled with fear currently. Hence, the fight should be not only against the virus, but it is against fear. Friends, please trust me, in the current scenario, all that has to be focused is a change in thought process. And that's the reason I said fight is not only against virus, but it is against fear also. Unless we eliminate the fear, there will not be a surge in elective surgeries, there will not be a surge in OPDs, there will not be a surge in routine diagnostic services. And current status is there is a complete drop in medical tourism business. And there is an upsurge in the COVID cases in India. While this is a reality check, there is one important fact which talks about country as a whole is there is a rapid shift in India from inadequacy to adequacy. At one point of time, there was deficiency of respiratory devices or essential drugs or disinfectants or masks. But today, we have come to a stage from inadequacy to adequacy. When the country itself is going through a rapid shift, if you and me as an individual, if you and me as an organization, if we are not catching up the speed of that shift through collaborative change management, we will be left alone. With that thought process in mind, friends, we thought of engaging this program. It's basically about your awareness about collaborative change and what are all the skills that you are supposed to acquire for this collaborative change, how your behavior should reflect in collaborative change, and how your value system will drive you for this collaborative change for the betterment of the patient. This entire collaborative change focuses on emotional health, then thereby building a mental health, followed by physical health. Of course, the end this thing is all these things as a healthcare organization, if you are looking at it, it also focuses on financial health. So if you are interested about the financial health of the organization, if you are interested about the physical health as an individual or a mental health as an individual, there is nothing left over other than collaborative change management for us. If you have to be prepared, we all are prepared for various changes. But to me, this is most important aspect. From the childhood, whenever we wanted to do something, whenever we wanted to change something, we always say, okay, now tell me what is that I should do. Instead of focusing, how is that we have should do and why is that we have to change. My request to you friends is, in the current scenario, if you have to be prepared, please reverse the outlook. It's not about what, it's not about how, it should start from why. Why this collaborative change? If the why is clear, how and what will automatically derive its place. So my focus today is, friends, to make you prepared on why aspect, so that how and what differs from individual to individual, organization to organization, so you will derive your own solution. Today, the focus on collaborative change is because there is a changing behavior across the stakeholders. Let it be doctors or patients or channel participants or anyone you see, there is a change in the behavior. When there is a change in the behavior from the stakeholder, I also need to undergo a change. My organization has to undergo a change. Similarly, there is a surge in the disinfection-oriented expenses by the doctor, which calls for a high revenue model. Example, today for a 500 rupees consultation fees, doctor has to wear a PEP kit worth of 1000 or 1500 rupees. There is a surge in expenses. This surge calls for a high revenue model. How can we derive at a high revenue model with a collaborative change? While this is one part of the story, the second part of the story is the citizens around the world want a healthcare system which is accessible, which is unrestricted, which provides high quality, but all these things at an affordable cost. Two extreme ends. And the current crisis is not about only a health crisis. It's not about economic crisis. It has affected multiple aspects of our life. So unless we address all these multiple aspects, we will not be able to do justification through collaborative change, friends. And in the hospitals, till now, whatever crisis management we have followed, the standard crisis management techniques that we have followed in the healthcare may not be applicable henceforth completely, because the crisis itself has undergone a transformational change. Hence, the standard crisis management is not sufficient. We have to do something else. Multiple stakeholders, they are forced to take a survival approach today than a serving approach or a successful approach. They are affected so badly that they are focusing only on the survival approach. Unless this approach is shifted, recovery may not be possible. So from a survival approach, if you have to become a successful approach, there should be a change in the way we think, change in the way we have to operate. That has to happen only through collaborative change. And the current prolonged economic disruption, it is prolonged. So because of this, can I stop my function like an automobile or like a textile? We cannot. Healthcare is a daily operation. Now, with so much of challenges, neither we can shut down the operations temporarily like other industries, nor we can continue our operations with so many challenges around us. And the current pandemic has brought a lot of changes in various protocols, and these changes in protocols have gone up by 110x. So trust me, friends, when one way healthcare is affected, one way there is an economic disruption, second way people are operating on survival approach, we are not able to manage the current crisis with standard crisis management, and it has affected many aspects of our life, and the expectations of the citizens and the public is different. However, the expenses of the doctors and healthcare is different. There is a changing behavior. When so much uncertainty is around us, when so much of changed scenario is around us, the only solution for you and me, the only solution for your organization, my organization, but the only solution for this industry is to go through a collaborative change. I hope I made my why very clear. If that is the case, how we have to do is, starting from our layouts to beds to equipment to resource deployment to protective gears to statutory reporting to medical interventions to diagnostics to the mental health management to counseling to testing challenges, testing outcomes. These are all the areas we need to show a paradigm shift. So as a speaker, can I give you a solution on how to improve your resource deployment? I may not be able to do. It's for you to decide. But unless there is a paradigm shift in each of these areas, with a fundamental underlying being, improving the patient's health and safety through collaborative change, we may not be able to sustain. There should be a self-awareness about where I am. I should be willing to change. I should be willing to support this change. We never thought of collaborative change. We thought of only improvement within the organization. We thought of improving within the departments. We thought of improving individually. Now, we need to support the change. There should be a willingness to support this change. We need to equip ourselves. We need to empower ourselves with the required skills and behaviors. There should be a reinforcement towards the sustaining change. There is a radical enforced change. It's not about you just thought of something else. You worked on one of your thought process. No. There is a radical enforced change is the key. Which means your change, whether you take it willingly or forcefully, it should be radical and it should not be systematic. It should be a radical change, which you and me would never have heard about it. That's the key, friends. For that change, what I thought of giving some information to you is, let's bring this from two angles. One from an organizational contribution. How an organization should contribute to this collaborative change. How as an individual I should contribute to this collaborative change. That's what is my thought process, friends. As an organization, the need of the hour is collaborative change management. When I took my son for a doctor, the doctor said his areas has to be removed. While I know the doctor, I could not accept, or I could not go by his words, because somewhere in my mind, while doctor is right in his giving advice, somewhere in his mind, in my mind, I am not clear, should I go for an operation or should I not go for an operation, because there is a trust deficit. 15 years back, 20 years back, this trust deficit element was at a very minute level. Today, while one way the advantage of science is going up, one way infrastructure is going up, one way we are saying about high quality services, parallelly, for a common patient, for a common public, there is a trust deficit that is also going up exponentially. The very attempt to go for a second opinion, the very attempt to go for a third opinion, or today, if I have to say very jovially, today people are going even for a Google opinion, which means they are believing what is said in a mission through Google than a human being who studied and who spent his life on medicine than his words. Why this scenario today, friends? There is a trust deficit. Now, I cannot tell you how you will translate, how will you move, how will you shift your organization from trust deficit to trust surplus. But that's the need of the hour. Today, from trust deficit, we need to shift to trust surplus. We should think, if you are in a managerial position, you should think how each stakeholder in your organization, whether it is internal employee or external stakeholder or anyone, how each stakeholder can build the trust surplus. That's where the focus should be. As an individual, I may not be able to do much things to build the trust surplus. But as a human being, when I see some other department, some other area where because of their negligence, because of their inactive approach, if patients are not trusting them, at least it's my moral responsibility to escalate those deficit areas that itself can contribute to trust surplus. So friends, from a trust deficit, we should move to trust surplus. Second thing, enter this private, while India has been, in India, private healthcare has been considered as establishing confidence for the customers. While the entire focus is on patient-centric healthcare system, this focus on patient-centric healthcare system still could not bring these patients back to hospitals today because of the this our re-emphasis on patient-centric healthcare system should be there. That's the need of the hour. How will you do it? Because if you are a 30-bedded hospital, that the scenario will be different. If you are a multi-specialty hospital, the scenario will be different. In a given span of 60 minutes, I will not be able to explain that. But I can always navigate you to think about re-emphasis on patient-centric healthcare system. The next concept is, as a patient, I always do a cost and value analysis. While the customer, who is the patient for us, always focuses on the cost, as a service provider, your focus should be on the value. Now, you may say, sir, I am giving the best of my services. Now tell me, friends, the customer measures everything in terms of cost. Now, can you measure everything in terms of value? Anything which is not measurable cannot be managed. Hence, whether it is reception or whether it is billing, whether it is diagnosis, whether it is surgical operation, whether it is post-treatment therapy, whatever it is, how are you measuring the value created by you? How are you projecting the value created by you? If you want to measure the output, manage the output, you have to measure the input. That measure the input is nothing but measurable value. It's not about value, it's about measurable value. Then the next thing is, friends, about nursing aspects of care and recovery. While the medical staff, whether it is doctors or nursing, they do their best of their job. These medical care needs to be complemented with a seamless orchestration of non-medical staff. A doctor has done his job well, a nurse has done his job well, but imagine a receptionist has failed to win over the customer. In your case, he is a patient. Gone. All your treatment, your well-being, your approach will be nullified, because in a chain, it is only strong as its weakest link. Your medical, your doctor may be great, your nursing may be great, your diagnosis may be great, but imagine if at a billing, the family members got affected. At a reception, the visitors got affected. And this itself will take a lot of adverse impact on your existence. Hence, friends, always remember, the chain is, your organization is as strong as one simple deficient area. That simple deficient area can wipe out all the other positives of your organization. Hence, the nursing aspects of care and recovery has to be complemented with non-medical staff equally or more focusedly. Then the next thing is, purpose comes first. Everything else does not matter. My dear friends, what I would like to tell is, in an organization, each of your employee, each of the medical, non-medical, doctor, everyone should know not their role. They should not focus on their KRAs. They should not focus on what is their job. Ask yourself one question. Is it that your staff, starting from a gate boy to the CEO, know their purpose or not? What is the purpose of their existence in the organization? Make the every stakeholder understand their purpose. That's the need of the hour. When I understand the need of my purpose at an individual, I collaborate with another individual. When a department understands its purpose, it collaborates with another department. When a hospital understands its purpose, it may collaborate with another hospital. So the collaboration comes only when we understand the very purpose of our existence. At an individual to individual, department to department, hospital to hospital, state to state, nation to nation, human being to human being. It's not about our KRAs, it's not about our job responsibilities. The change should come to a level where everyone should understand the purpose. And purpose only comes first. Everything else does not matter. Then we can buy machines. We can buy machines as a enterprise. But do we train the people? We need to train the today. An excellent mission with a poor handling abilities of a staff will have an adverse impact. I don't want to name the hospital, but there is a leading hospital that has collaborated eICU support for nursing homes. They have started eICU support for government hospitals. They provide various e-learning platforms on COVID. How many of us are equipped with that? There is a ventilator training project, which is the need of the hour today. They have a ventilator training project with a Critical Care Society of India. They collaborated with Critical Care Society of India. They give a simulator-based learning. They mentor. So in the case of in the process of mentorship or offering simulator-based training with a collaboration with the Critical Care Society or providing a e-learning platforms for the COVID, what is that they are doing is they are collaborating change for training the expertise. Am I making the best advantage out of that? Or if you yourself can collaborate that, you yourself can operate, whether are you ensuring that others take advantage of your services? Because today anybody can buy machine, but we need to train the expertise. And the collaboration with the peers should go beyond borders. It's not about I live in Coimbatore, so I link with Coimbatore doctors. I live in Chennai, I live in Tamil Nadu, so I collaborate with Tamil Nadu doctors. No, the collaboration with the peers should go beyond the borders. It may be from nation to nation or a state to state, wherever it is. There should be a continuous exchange of knowledge, information, and best practices. In the last 4 months, how many of us would have done exchange of knowledge or information? There is a hospital, there is a setup which conducts a weekly update for the doctors in association with API. It's an American Association of Physicians of Indian origin. They conduct a weekly update with them. So what is that they are doing? What is that I can do? How I can implement that here? Beyond borders, the collaboration is going on. With that information, they are evolving separate and unique protocols. Let it be HCQ or Remdesivir for the doctors and care guidelines. They have come out today with a different unique protocol, different protocols for common public. Today there is a Kawasaki syndrome for children. What is that you can do? What is that we can do here in India so that our children will not get affected by this Kawasaki syndrome? And the basic awareness about the Kawasaki syndrome itself has come because of the collaboration with the peers, which is beyond borders. Today, friends, this AHMP, which is led by the Ramakrishnan sir and Mahalingam sir, this is a platform where I am a third party. I come and I am giving whatever I know about this to you. Similarly, you can share your best practices. Your information, your knowledge will be of immense benefit to various other people, peers. It's only together we all win. So there should be a collaboration with the peers beyond borders, friends. Then the next cinema is about digital health. This is not a new concept. You and me are all following this from long back. Listen, there's the video medicine which we are following. But please tell me, friends, all this digital healthcare support, have we ever tried to manage the patient's experience? So this digital health should translate to digital patient experience management. I'm making statements to you, friends, because I will not be able to give you solution now. Domain, your own department, as an individual, your own organization, whatever you are doing digitally, has it improving the patient's experience? Are you able to manage the patient experience with the so-called digital reports? There is a clinical decision support engine. How are you effectively using it? This is one more way where this requires a collaborative change. In many of the hospitals, while a patient is suffering from COVID or non-COVID, anything, this is a practical experience I'm telling you, friends. When the patient is suffering, there is a deep concern for the family members. And unfortunately, in the so-called big setups, there is no clue to the family members on whom to approach, where to approach. You never know the kind of pain these family members are undergoing. So, as an organization, as a department, as an individual, can we communicate? Can we two objectives? One, to counsel the patient, counsel the family members. Our entire communication itself has to undergo a change. We need to communicate to console, and we need to communicate to counsel. This is the need of our friends. Today, the many people, if you do a deep analysis of the affected people because of the COVID, who could not live further, there is an issue. People have not died only because of the COVID. People have not died only because of the virus. The virus has been a core morbidity, whereas his existing illness like sugar, his existing illness like blood pressure, his existing illness of heart, that has become a comorbidity, which otherwise was the core morbidity. Now, friends, everybody in the process of focusing more on core morbidity today called virus, we are ignoring the comorbidity opportunity. So can each one of us again focus with a laser focus on comorbidity in addressing earlier? Maybe an operation can be postponed, but today if that operation is postponed, maybe that will lead to a less resistance, less immunity, which may cause him to go easily get affected by the COVID. So today, every one of us, we can focus on comorbidity issues which were existing pre-COVID, and we can try to address that. That itself is an opportunity for each one of us. At least for that purpose, we need to have a synchronization, we need to have an analysis, we need to have a data mining system with a collaboration to focus on this comorbidity. One more area where we found the collaborative change required is digital versus word of mouth. Friends, while every organization today, when it goes a beyond level, they are trying to focus on digital explanation. Digital explanation. Okay. They are building their own stories. They say, we are spending so much money on digital advertisements. We are making so much of very big exposure and explanation of our story. They say, they ask you, what is your story? You make your big story. You make your big story. It's a digital. However, tell me, friends, the focus that we are spending on digital by going for your story is getting nullified by one dissatisfied patient who goes out, says, sir, I went to that hospital, sir, nobody bothered, sir. Doctor came and given me injections, sir, but the nurses and all are not at all worse, sir. Now, this one word of mouth can kill our so-called digital your story. So, my friends, what is that we can do to match our digital story to the spoken story in the world? How can we match? The spoken story is dominating the digital story now. If word of mouth has to go positively, if your spoken story has to be effective, positive, supportive, not even a single individual in the organization can be casual. Otherwise, we spend so much money on digital to build your story, spoken story, which goes out of word of mouth. These are all few areas where I observed that at an organization level, we should focus. This entire thing, whatever I discussed today, should translate to workforce management. Why? Because it has to enable the seamless delivery of tasks. We need to go for a real-time location tracking, IoT-based monitoring, artificial intelligence-based optimization. There are event-driven data and data-driven workflows. There should be a cognitive workflow automation. These are all not the technical words, friends. Every one of us, for you to get into this, you need to collaborate with the tech. For you to communicate to console, you need to collaborate with a soft skills person. There should be visual command center dashboards. Hygiene monitoring can be done. Which all these things we should improve your efficiency, improve your quality, improve your productivity. At the end of the day, starting from the outpatient department, can we measure the patient experience? Today we are not measuring. We are feeling that we sent the patient with happiness, but there is no measure, scientific measures. Starting from OPD to in-room to overall exit process, at every stage can we measure. How to measure is given data person. How to analyze the patient's feedback, to monitor, to measure, to manage the care metrics at every touch point. How can we compare the analytics? Analytics can be compared by shift, by time, by staff, by ward, by service, within the departments in the hospitals, within the individuals, among the individuals. One hospital, the same analytics can be linked to the performance, patient engagement, recovery management. The same comparative analytics can be used to increase the visibility and improve the productivity. But for you to do this comparative analytics, you need to collaborate with a person who is an analytic. So, as a healthcare, you need to collaborate with analytics. You need to collaborate with the soft skills. You need to collaborate with administration. You need to collaborate with HR. Every individual has to collaborate with another individual. Every department has to collaborate with another department. Every hospital has to collaborate with another hospital. Every nation has to collaborate with another nation. And with respect to this, various IoT or AI-enabled solutions, for you to do this, you need to collaborate yourself with the tech. Today there is an asset management system. We should do this because at the end of the day, you have to improve your clinical outcomes. Unless you improve your clinical outcomes, increase in revenues. So for you to improve revenues and improve clinical outcomes, you need to change. You need to collaborate with AMS. There is a BEMS, Building and Energy Management System, which takes care of monitoring. This is basically to save the manpower, to save energy, to save cost, to ensure that there are regulatory compliances. So for all these things, you need to go for BEMS, which is again a collaboration with IT and IoT. There is a location tracking system of a doctor or a patient or an ambulance. This is to ensure that you manage the social distancing. This is to improve your patient or equipment workflow. There is an IIS, Interconnected Information Systems, lab versus radiatory versus pathology versus pharma versus bank, blood bank, to a research information. There is the interconnected information. For you to have all these things, you need to collaborate with IT, IoT. While these are all the things we can do at an organizational level, friends, there are few things that we can do at an individual level through our personal contribution. Through our personal contribution, it's not about change. It's about reconfiguring our lives. It's not about reskilling, how to behave post-COVID. It's not about extra knowledge skills. It's not about shifting your minds slightly. It's about a radical change. It's about reconfiguring. You set your button reset, because if you make small shifts, you may optimize yourself. If you make small changes, you may optimize yourself, but still you will be left with an inadequacy. When something is not working today, what normally we do when computers suddenly hang up, what we will do? We will switch off the system and we will a small shift in mindset will not work. We need to reconfigure ourselves. How we will be reconfiguring ourselves? The process for a billing person will be different. Reconfiguring process for a CEO will be different. Reconfiguring process for a HR executive will be different. Reconfiguring process for a doctor will be different. My only thing is, let's not focus on shifting the mind slightly. Let's focus on a radical change of reconfiguring ourselves. That's the order of the day today. There should be, and currently there is a unprecedented levels of speed and efficacy expectations. People wanted more efficacy, more speed, and this kind of demand, these kind of expectations were never experienced across the medical history. Today there is an unprecedented limits. We need to redefine our boundaries. Only then we'll be able to go for it. So the question that I should ask is, how I can meet the unprecedented levels of speed, how I can demonstrate my unprecedented level of efficacy. For that, with which individual I need to collaborate, with which department I need to collaborate, with which organization I need to collaborate, with which professional I need to collaborate. He may be within the organization, he may be outside the organization. That calls for a collaborative change. And unlike or like many other industries today, there is also a possibility of mergers and acquisitions in the healthcare. When there are mergers and acquisitions, the two organizations which are coming together to merge, there could be cultural issue differences between one organization and another organization, between one hospital and another hospital. So both the employees, both the doctors, both the management should focus on understanding the importance of cultural change management in the process of merging, in the process of acquisition, so that unless you understand this cultural change management impact, you will not be able to collaborate the change aspect in the both the organization. And trust me, friends, higher possibilities where there is a concept of mergers and acquisitions, which may happen even in our healthcare space. Okay, the focus on mechanism of fear lifting versus lockdown lifting. As I told you, lockdown may get lifted, already started, unlocking process is started. Maybe it is completely going out on a period of 2 months or 3 months. But my request and submission to you, friends, is when the lockdown gets lifted, by that time, have we done anything to lift the fear from the patients, to lift the fear from the public? Because your inflows to the doctor, your inflow of the patients is directly proportional not to lifting the lockdown, but it is directly proportional to lifting the fear. So now, as a hospital, as an organization, as an individual, as a department, what is that you can do to ensure that you remove the fear of the public? What initiative you can take? With whom you want to collaborate? What is the message that you wanted to send to the public? So unless we all focus on lifting the fear, by the time the lockdown gets lifted, the inflows will not be there. To me, the inflow of the patients post-lockdown lifting is directly proportional to the lifting of the fear. So just to sum up, friends, there is an action plan. If you and me feel that there is a value in it, at an organizational level, we should move from trust deficit to trust surplus. We should re-emphasize on patient-centric healthcare. We should measure the value at each level. There is a growing prominence on the outcomes. Nursing aspects to be complemented with non-medical staff. Every employee in the organization should be clear about the purpose of his existence. And like some other big corporate hospital is taking care of the training the expertise, you can also train the expertise, or you can utilize the opportunity given by others. And we need to collaborate with the peers beyond the boundaries. And with all the advancement of digital and digital supports and digital healthcare system, we need to manage the patient's experience through digital. And most important thing is there should be a communication to counsel and console at an individual level. It's not about small change. It's about reconfiguring ourselves. And we need to be prepared for the unprecedented demand of speed and efficacy. We should contribute to fear lifting. How we will do? Each one of us have to have our own action plan. At the end, the collaborative change with all these departments, with all these external professionals, maybe analytics, maybe soft skills, maybe technicals, maybe the expertise training institutes, all these things should result in collaborative delivery of healthcare. When I say this, collaborative delivery of healthcare, what do I mean? In the process of this collaborative change management, the industry, healthcare industry itself has to collaborate with government. Today, this industry has to collaborate with insurance, because unlike all other countries in the world, there should be a collaboration between industry and government and insurance and the pharma to the hospitals to the transport. There can be a collaboration between a government hospital, public-private hospitals, PSU hospitals, railway hospitals, ESA hospitals, and medical colleges. With all these hospitals being in place, still they are concentrated at a particular projects, particular pockets. Like if you take in Telangana, it may not be from Hyderabad or Chennai. So there should be a collaboration system today with a transport so that the patient seamlessly can move from his place of residence to the place of hospitalization. And there should be a collaboration within different types of hospitals, and there should be a collaboration on providing the pharma services, and there should be a collaboration so that the expenses will not bite the pockets. There should be a collaboration with insurance organizations, and there should be a collaboration between private and government. And finally, what I would like to tell friends is, it's not about knowledge. It's not about what you know. It's not about what you wanted to do. It's not about knowing what is collaborative change. It's about exercises and involvement so that